You're walking alone through a quiet parking lot. The hairs on the back of your neck start to prickle and your senses heighten. You just get this feeling that someone is following you. What do you do? Good evening, I'm Lonnie Stork, and I'm going to teach you a few basic self-defense techniques. After taking a women's self-defense class, after watching my daughter's karate classes for 4 years, and after joining karate myself, I learned some about some self-defense techniques. These simple techniques I'll be teaching you work for everyone, men, women, and children. I'll teach you how to avoid unwanted contact and how to break away from 2 types of basic attacks. Let's start with the basic simple principle of keeping yourself safe, not becoming the choice victim. Security Officer Trinidad taught how to not be that choice victim. The first thing he says is, don't walk alone, if possible. But of course, that can't always be done. So it's important to walk with confidence. And what he means by that is to walk with your head up, your shoulders straight, and if someone walks by, a glanced eye contact is a good idea, just so they're aware, you know, they're there. Another thing he says is to not walk with things in both hands. It's important to keep your strong arm free. Another important thing is to be aware of your surroundings. Choose well-lit areas and stay away from areas that could present a surprise attack. A story on that for me, I went to New York and I was using some of these techniques. I was walking one night, yeah, it was night, it was dark, not the best thing, but those things happen. But I was in a group of with 2 other people, and we were walking with confidence, and we stayed street side on the sidewalk. That way we were not walking along the buildings where somebody could surprise attack us out of a dark alley. So we were using these techniques to keep safe. Now, I've shared with you how to avoid being the chosen victim. Let's move on to ideas of what someone could do if they were approached. KidsHealth.org reminds that the most important thing in self-defense is to avoid a fight. But if you are approached, keep personal space. You do not want to be in arm's reach of that attacker. So 3 to 4 feet, that's a pretty good gauge. Step back if necessary in order to keep that personal space. If an attacker continues to encroach on my personal space, I'm going to step back again, turn, and run. And as Ronin Dojo Family Karate taught us, make noise. People forget to make noise because we've been taught to be polite. My children were told to practice shouting as part of their training. Kids are to shout, "You're not my dad!" And then adults shout, "Fire!" And the reason adults shout fire is because anyone within earshot, if they hear fire, they're more likely to come to check that out instead of coming to rescue somebody who may be attacked. Another reason for making noise and yelling is not just to bring people within earshot, but the attacker, he doesn't want attention brought to him. So sometimes the shouting alone could make him go away and save you right there. So I've taught you it's important to avoid an attack and how to avoid that attack, but that's not always possible. So let me move on to some simple techniques to use if you're grabbed by the arm. If an attacker were to grab me by the arm, I'm going to move my arm in a big, swift circle like this. That should break me free. But if it doesn't, I'm going to use my free arm to thrust as hard as I can into his elbow region, like so. I'll break free, run, and yell. Let's go ahead and do that as a demonstration. I'm going to have Michael over here be my attacker. Ah! Okay, and I'm going to demonstrate that with a child as well. Madison, if you can please come up. "You're not my dad!" Good, remember to yell. Nice job. Thank you. These are very simple techniques to use, and my self-defense class taught me that the attacker won't expect them. They're not strength-based, as you saw with my daughter Madison. So anyone can use them. Let's move on from an arm grab to something a bit more physical, a bear hug from the back. If an attacker were to come up to me and wrap his arms around me in a bear hug, I have 2 choices. The first thing I'm going to do is grab his arm, and it gives me leverage. Now, if I'm wearing heels, I'm going to raise my knee up and jab my heel as hard as I can, onto his foot. This region would be great, the insole. This actually happened. I learned this in my women's self-defense class. Then afterwards, one of the students had gone out and she was attacked in a parking lot, and she used that exact technique and got free and was able to come back and tell us her story on that next lesson. Okay. Another choice with the bear hug, he wraps around, I grab his arms for leverage. I'm going to raise my elbow as high as I can and thrust it as hard as I can into my attacker's gut. I'm going to break free and run. And again, I'm going to use Michael here as my attacker. Thank you. All right, so I'm going to grab down. I'm going to raise my elbow as hard as I can. I'm going to thrust. And run. Thank you. I think I got him a little bit harder than I intended to. That actually was not full force, and I still got away. I didn't want to injure him too badly. So that's a very, very good technique. Now you've seen how to break away from some basic attacks. Let me remind you of the things you've learned that could save your life. The best thing is to avoid an attack by staying away from potentially dangerous places, walking with confidence, and keeping your distance from strangers. In the event of an attack, the victim yells and uses big, swift movements. Since an attacker is not going to expect his victim to know any self-defense, he's not going to expect them to fight back, any yelling, any self-defense that you use, that the victim uses, will confuse the attacker and will help with the escape. Remember, the goal is to get away. Thank you for listening, and I hope you learned a few basic self-defense tips. You guys have a great evening. Thank you.